there are so many different things that I get out of this wonderful medium. It's helped me be a better friend, a better communicator, a more articulate person when it comes to my own emotions, understanding my personal experiences, and being able to express that through imagery, but also verbally, to be able to put things in words, break things down. Something that I struggled with growing up, which is why I was probably subconsciously prompted to want to be a filmmaker. That, along with, of course, the entertainment, the escapism, forgetting the world around me and diving into these incredible worlds that this group of people were a part of making. And that's what I really love to try to figure out is you could be a person who's like a DIY filmmaker, and I've been that person, and I still kind of am in some instances. But you could be somebody who does things alone, and that's very valid. But there's also something to be gained out of the process of bringing people in. You know, how do you know that this production designer is the right person for the job? How do you know that this cinematographer will capture the vision that you have? And it's not about how skillful they are. It's not about how talented a person is. I just love to get a sense of who they are just by having a conversation about something that might be completely unrelated to the film that we're making and completely unrelated to even filmmaking in general. Like if we're able to talk about life, if we're able to connect on that basis, things that have been on our mind lately, things that have enamored us, things that have troubled us. If we could have discussion about those things, then I feel like there's a spark, there's something there's a huge potential for working together. And so with that being said, you don't have to be the most skillful person. You don't have to be the most talented person. I don't look for those things in collaborators. What I look for is a genuine curiosity about how to move through life, about other people and how they move through life and how do they get past difficult moments, So that's how I really that's honestly how I you know decide who I want to work with. And there's so many beautiful conversations that come from that. I think that's a huge factor in why I love to do this, is because I might be able to, like, I might use this honestly, like, sometimes this is how I look at it, where it's like I use these like stories and scripts as a reason to be around people, to like start conversations about things. Like, this is something that I've experienced in the past. This is something that I thought was unique to me, but it turns out that a lot of other people have gone through the same thing or experienced the same thing. And so I use, like, I like, out of that sort of vulnerability, out of the courage it takes to want to share something that's personal to you, which, you know, you're not going to always want to share everything, but if you bring people on who you trust, bring people on who support you, it'll just make things so much more streamlined and make things seem like, this was meant to be. Like, this was meant to be. We're supposed to tell this story at this time together. And the camaraderie of it, the family, just a bunch of lost renegades, bunch of people who are scared, who are nervous, who don't know what they're doing, who might be dealing with imposter syndrome like I am, but we're all just like, let's just jump into it and find out. I'm really about creating environments in which we feel as though we have the room to make mistakes. We could discover, explore the possible routes we could take, and create these like sandboxes, canvas, and I think a lot of times that creates something really exciting and beautiful. And I think a lot of the responsibilities of a director are exactly that, is bring people together, manage the personalities, be a good communicator, and to be able to have that sense of purpose, like I'm telling a story, this is the story that we need to be telling at this point, and to be able to tell that and communicate that to the audience, and also to your crew members. I mean, first the people, the first people who are like going to be the judges of what we're doing, like what, like I love to be, I love just making sure that people know like that this is a film that deals with these ideas and the human condition at large, but something that will be significant to a viewer, and just to like infuse that sense of purpose with why it is you're spending 12 hours a day on set, breaking your back, away from loved ones, away from whatever it is you love to do outside of film, especially when you're not getting paid. It's like you really have to align that sense of purpose with the crew, and um, the reason why they're here and why they've given their time to the production. So, and Spike Lee, I learned this from Spike Lee, listening to him talk about how the sort of crews that he fosters, and how if they all know and have an understanding of like the reason why they're telling the story, and why they're doing this, it's like they're so much more compelled to work harder, or um, give it their all, because there's that reason there. And I love that, and I think that should be just like a given with any story. And I usually don't go out and tell something that I don't like firmly believe that this is something that people will get behind. This is something that will resonate with a crew, and resonate with an audience, like it gives me that like it just makes it all like authentic, I think. And it's a long journey. It's a long, excruciating route. It's a long and excruciating journey to be able to like get to the end product, which sometimes things don't happen as quickly as you hope they would. It might really be a while until you make the next thing, but just as long as you're taking the small steps, and that's like, I'm telling you guys this, but I'm really just like also reminding myself, like as I'm in the process of working on these projects and pre-production, and a lot of that could be discouraging. This is a very difficult time, when you're still putting things together, because you're constantly having to remind yourself of the significance of the story that you're telling, and why you chose to tell it, why you even started on the journey to begin with. So it's important to remind yourself of that, or at least have people around you who shake you up, and who are like, no dude, like get out of your head, this is what you should be doing, and just keep at it, because I'd rather have a finished piece. I'd rather have something I could look at and say, hey, like, this isn't it. This wasn't what we should have done, than to not have anything at all and to give up when things get really tough, you know? Um, Trying to find a way to figure it out. And that's why I say, like, throw yourself into it, the whole crew. It's like, don't let fear define who you are. That's what I gotta always tell myself. Is what I'm really crazy about too, is like not boxing myself in, not letting all the sort of doubts and all the fear of what could go wrong essentially define the product, define the way that I move myself. So it's all easier said than done. It really is. But there's a lot of people who I look up to. There's a lot of people who I'm inspired by. And that's what I love about the internet. There's a lot of downsides to it for sure, to social media, the pressures of posting and sharing, but I try to pull away the positives. Like I could reach out to somebody across the country, across the world, and have a conversation with them about what they're going through and realize that, hey, like, just because this dude's in LA or just because this dude got into Sundance doesn't mean they're still not working things out, that they're not struggling. It's like it's more about how you're able to equip yourself with like tools so that you could get past it, so you could get through these difficult times, because you'll always go through it. You'll always be wanting, needing to scale mountains and wanting to embark on that journey. But it's like, do you have, and it's like with each journey you gather more tools, to be able to weather the storm. And that's what I love. That's what movies do. They might give you those tools. They might give you those insights into life based on the characters, the mistakes that they make, the journey that they go on themselves, and what they didn't see, and you learn something from that. So that's what I love about movies. That's what I've always loved about them. And that's what I get out of the process of making a film. And it's not just filmmaking, it's any process, anything in life. Whether you're an engineer, a teacher, if you're able to look at things in that way, something within you, I think, an excitement, out of that curiosity, out of that question of, can we make this possible? Can I accomplish this? Can we, as a group, bring this to life? And you'll never know. You'll do the work and you'll put the time in to prepare yourself as best as you can, but you never know what you're going to uncover. You'll be met face to face with all of your shortcomings, all of those doubts, all of those things that you tell yourself to that you think is true, to talk yourself out of doing stuff. You're going to be met with, you're not going to like evade those things. You're going to like confront that. And what's so empowering is if you're able to have that confrontation with all of those things about yourself that you think are flaws, the most deplorable things that will completely stifle and stop production. If you're able to like get through that and disprove those things, I think that's like the sort of the happiness that I get. That's the moment where I let my breath out, and it feels like there is nothing that defines me. There's nobody out there who could stop this from happening and who could stop me. There's nothing. And then obviously, like, we talk about like your own self and how that's a huge obstacle and challenge. I mean, from the second you wake up to when you go to bed, the choices that you make. And it's not always perfect. It doesn't always look clean. It doesn't always look pretty. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm not always making the right decisions, but it's that recognition of that, and then when things come back around, what do you choose to do then? It's really funny to me also because I made this short film a year ago, and I made this short film called Words from Sophia a year ago now, and about a year. And I look at it now, and I had this like recent revelation of like where I could have taken the story, what I could have done with it to expand on like the narrative. And I was just kind of like, damn, man, like I really missed an opportunity, and I missed a shot to like make this something bigger, make this something that might be more meaningful. I could have taken it in this direction, and I completely, I didn't see that, but I was just like, damn, like I missed it. And but that like I always get that I always get that like with anything that I've made, where it's like you look back and you're like, this is what I should have done. And you could take that whatever way you want to take it. Like, is this something that's gonna completely stop you in your tracks and just be like, no, I missed my shot, like it's over with? Or are you somebody who's like, I want to, I may have fucked this one up, but I want to get back to another story where I might be able to get it right. And and that's what I want. I want to be able to like take these things that I've realized about like, storytelling and fleshing characters out, and working with the actors. I want to be able to take these things and like continue the progress. And I was just talking to some friends about this. Like, I think the saddest thing that anybody could do who's like really put in hours into getting really good at something is to just like is to stop, because of the lack of support, or things, people naturally lose love for things, and that's cool. You move from things to things. But I think for people who stop because it's very hard to see there being a future in something when you're not being supported for it. And I don't mean to be ignorant, because a lot of life gets very complicated, finances, family. I'm aware of all of that. In fact, I deal with all of that. But if you're somebody who's able to like find a way to survive and to keep your progress going, keep strengthening your skill set, it's like, where does that lead? I'm so curious about where that leads to. Like, it might be the most extraordinary thing. You'll get to that point where things fall into place. and and I just get really excited about thinking, like, if I could just keep going, where will this lead to? What heights can I reach? And I'm not talking about like trying to get famous. I'm talking about like, to like the same way that I look at the story that I made a year ago. I look back at it now and I'm like, I could have done better. Like, what's that? Where's that instance where you're like, all right, this really worked? I mean, I know I'll get there if but that's if I keep going. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to do it. And I really urge you, if you're in that same space where you feel like things are looking a little dim, where the people around you don't necessarily see what you see in the craft that you're making progress in, like, I just urge you to keep going, and that there is something there within you that if you keep nourishing it, it'll blossom into something that nobody could have ever saw. Nobody could have ever fathomed. Something that maybe only you saw, or maybe something that you didn't even see. Maybe you're surprised about, yourself. You're surprised about what you're able to accomplish. You're surprised that, like I said earlier, like all of these things that you said, all of these things that the way you thought about yourself, the way you to disprove those things and to come, to get to a final product. I mean, that means everything. That really means everything. And that's why I love sharing work, you know, not because of the likes, not because of, although admittedly a lot of that stuff feels good. I'm not gonna lie, like as much as I tell myself not to take all that stuff in, it's like, likes and comments and traction. I mean, it feels good. It feels like something's happening. But what do you, how do you look at your work when those things aren't there? When you're not, when you don't have the spotlight on you. You know, what does that period of time look when you're like in the dark and you're just like still trying to, get this thing off the ground, this project. Um, that those are like the really like the like feel like the things that define a person. You know, but to be able to share your work and to continue that conversation, it's like, you have the conversations all throughout the process. From the very beginning, conversation might revolve around life, might revolve around experiences, lessons learned, and then slowly transforms into like, how can we accomplish this? So ends up being like a technical conversation, and then at the very end you have this piece and you have conversations about the final product and whether or not you're able to achieve what you set out to accomplish. What were some things you uncovered along the way, and what are some like new things that you like found out about this idea that you didn't have in mind to begin with? And then at the very end, it just ends up being a conversation about life again. Ends up being a conversation about perseverance, and I love that, I'm that's fuel. So I do love to share work. I love to show work. I mean, it's something that I'm incredibly, incredibly intrigued by, is reactions. People have emotional, whether it's sadness or happy, gleeful moments, or yeah, like scary things. I love all of that, and I always like make a catalog of that stuff. But this period of life is about patience. It's about acknowledging the progress that you've made personally, looking back at the mountains that you've scaled, seeing what's around you. Don't close yourself off. Like, don't compare yourself, but like, you know, I try not to close myself off to what's happening around me. And but with that being said, there's periods of time where I'm just alone and I don't want to associate with anybody, you know. And not everything you make will be seen. You might not even be seen, like, for real. I have this camera set up right now, and I honestly forgot if I hit record or not. So I don't know if you'll be seeing this. But what happens when you don't get recognition? What happens when you aren't seen? For somebody like me, it's like, this really feels nice because for so long, our stories, our problems, who we are was being brushed under the rug, erased. So it feels nice to be seen. But hey, if I forgot to hit record, then, it's all good too.